Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the One Talk podcast. You're here with your host, Ryan McCarthy. And today we are joined with Papas Azwell. And today's episode, we dive deep in Papa's journey from overcoming personal struggles to redefining success. Papa shares his insights on resilience, community, and the importance of self-awareness. We also discuss how experience shapes us and the power of hope in transforming our lives. He's got a really inspiring story to hear the setbacks, the challenges that have arrived, how he's continued to push through and overcome these challenges, even when you go through things and they can stick for a couple of years, you don't have to remain that person or remain in those challenges. He's really an inspiring person. I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to sit down with him and get into this episode. He's also the creative director and founder of Sixth Ave Clothing range and so many more things which you will hear on the podcast. Monthly on the One Talk podcast, we like to give shout outs or feature people who are needing support or raising money for something important. And for this month, we are supporting Andy. So Andy is doing a 192 kilometer challenge to prevent veteran suicide and save lives. For context, ex-serving males are 112% more likely to die from suicide than any other Australian men. Ex-serving females are 107% more likely to die from suicide than any other Australian woman. Andy is someone who has personally been affected with Soldier on this march. He'll be walking 192 kilometers to honor the courage and sacrifice for our veterans past and present and their families. Every step taken raises crucial funds to provide mental health support, resources and services for those who have served and currently serve our country. To donate, go to every donation, not matter the size, goes a long way for our veterans. No veteran should walk alone. To donate, I'll leave the link in this bio. Please check it out. Support Andy on this mission. It's really important. It's doing this really good cause. So please check it out. It's in the bio. But without further ado, let's welcome Papas.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The marathon continue. Victory lap tonight, though. Victory lap tonight.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast with Ryan McCarthy.
The marathon continues. That's what you would say.
Welcome to the One Talk podcast, Papas Azwell. How are you, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well, thanks, bro. It's good to have you on the poddy. I think we first connected about 3 years ago now, and it's really cool to see your journey along what I've seen on social media, especially with Sixth Ave and all the other work that you're doing, but mainly a lot of the wellness that you post as well, because it can inspire others to want to, pursue similar things that you do and inspire them to make a change or to start a new habit or gain an interest in something like an ice bath and gym. It's really cool to, come to here now and have this conversation with you, bro, and have you on the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro, and I'm excited. Keen to kind of dig deep and share my journey, but I appreciate it. I've seen your journey too over the past couple of years, and it's been amazing, bro. So it's a privilege to be on here, and yeah, I'm keen to get amongst it.
Hey, so let's do it, bro. I'd love to be able to go back to your earliest days, bro. Let's just start with where are you from and where did you grow up?
I'm from Brisbane, Australia, but I'm Ukrainian, Malaysian, Greek. So dad's full Greek, and then mum's Malaysian, Ukrainian. But I grew up in West End, Brisbane, Australia. So I spent
Yeah,
my life like majority, yeah, here. I travel around a bit now, but yeah, born and bred Brisbane.
yeah, close to the city as well in West End.
Yeah,
Not
bro.
too
So
far.
now I try to like escape the city life and just have a bit more peace outside. But I love that. It always brings me back. I love the city life, but I also like, venturing out
Mm. Do you
for the
feel
peace.
like do you feel like growing up close to a city and maybe in those environments, they were a spark for entrepreneurship?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably the hustle and bustle, yeah, a little bit. Probably subconsciously, like being around it all the time. But it's crazy. Like I always think back to myself when I even like gained my entrepreneur kind of mindset because like a lot of the people around me and like my mother, my dad and stuff, my friends, no one was really like kind of like that. They kind of just like done their work, got their shit done, but they didn't have that like spark of like trying to be an entrepreneur, business minded, wanting more. They were kind of just like, which is completely fine, but they were just like content and just humble, content lives. But yeah, I think maybe subconsciously just like being around the hustle and bustle. But yeah, the city life is pretty chaotic.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's probably why you have your seasons of going to and from. Because I'm the same. Like when I moved to Australia, I lived on a place called Bribie Island. And it's just a beach,
Um,
basically, like an island.
yeah, it's
But
so
then
nice.
now, so then that once I moved up Bribie, I was keen to get more closer to like a city to get more of a hustle. But then now it's like the seasons, you need a bit of balance of the both.
100%, bro. 100%.
And growing up in West End, bro, what was life like for you growing up? Like, because I'm keen to understand what formed the person you are today. So I'm curious around maybe some of the earliest memories that you have, maybe some challenges that you went through, and then maybe how you overcame those challenges and dealt with them as well.
My childhood was quite interesting. Like, I came from a single mother. My parents were divorced, and my dad had like his own family. Um, and my mum didn't really have much. We didn't come from much. Very like humble beginnings. We lived in like a two-bedroom apartment with barely any furnishings. Mum was barely had any money, so financial hardship from like such a young age. Um, and not having a father figure and stuff, I always kind of looked externally for kind of like a male presence in my life because I felt like I wasn't fulfilled by like my mum. Even though she was trying to take the role of like both mother and father, I still looked for that validation from like a male, maybe perspective and guidance. So my childhood was mainly around my brother. So I was about like, we got really close probably around most of my life, maybe around like 8, 9, 10. And then into my teen years, like I looked at him as like my father figure. And he was 4 years older than me. So everything he did, I kind of just done. And he wasn't in the best place mentally, physically. Um, and he hung around bad people and was doing like a lot of bad stuff. But when you're young, this makes me understand now like the psychology behind how people grow up and what they're around in their environment. And now I understand a lot of people don't even know when they come from like a hard background where it's like there's a lot of adversity and bad things go on. They don't even know themselves because they don't know any better.
Mm.
And I think I grew up in that and I didn't realize till I broke out of it. A lot of my bad toxicity and patterns, negativity and bad things that happened in my life was due to the circle I was in, the environment that I was in, and I just didn't know any better. So now when I see it and I see like kids and um, people that are just like acting up and stuff, I don't hold anything like against them because I just understand they're just being brought up in different circumstances and they think they're probably doing the right thing, but they're really not. So yeah, with my brother, um, he was just very rebellious. I'm not too sure where that came from. I think not having the father figure and my mother was quite disciplined. Um, he was very rebellious, kind of a lot of like criminal activity. He got into drugs very young. His circles were quite not the best type of people. And I kind of followed in the same footsteps of just like rebelling. I was like wagging school. I'd done drugs very early, like the age of 13, 14. I was drinking. I was out all night. I was on the streets. And like I thought that was a normal life though. So it took, yeah, I'll talk about that later, but it took other chapters of where things kind of I realized and things changed. But I think being in those environments and stuff, like, yeah, it's hard to break free when you're conditioned and patterned in a way that you think is normal and it wasn't right. But yeah, my childhood was a lot around adversity, struggle, and just criminal activity, drugs, and yeah, violence as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, bro, because like like you said before, like everyone's doing the best they can with the information they have.
Mm,
Especially when you are, a teenager and growing up and you're seeing
Yeah.
things because I have an older brother as well, and I used to look up to him. He's five
Yeah.
years older than me, and I
Hmm.
used to look up to him, and he was involved in certain things as well that I probably shouldn't have looked up to.
Yeah.
But same with me, bro. Like I got into drugs at a young age, around 11, 12. But for you, what was that like to begin with? Like when you began addiction and starting to get into environments and getting into these habits, did you know it was wrong to begin with? Or were you seeking something? Or was it just the normal?
I think what I was seeking was still validation. So I got into these circles and done these things because I wanted to fit in. I also thought it was cool. So maybe that was an acceptance thing, an insecurity maybe I had. But you kind of just roll with what your environment is. And when they're doing, you just start doing the same things. Um, yeah, and then just those things just compound into worse things over time. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, when did you first, I guess, have a bit of awareness around maybe some of the actions you're doing and also the environments that you're in may not be serving you?
Um, I think over time when I started to realize like my mental health was kind of going, um, just from like anxiety and stuff. Maybe it was the stress of just the environment that I was in, the people that I was around, the drugs from such a young age. I could start to see my just my thought process, my perspective on life about people and others. I just knew something was different then. Um, but it still took me a while till, you break those type of patterns and you're consciously aware to actually do something about it. I think that's what a lot of people are like stuck because they don't realize they can get out of that and change the actual psychological patterns and brain function through reconditioning and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
100% for reconditioning. Like you said, over a certain period of time, you know, the new healthy way of living or the new wellness of living, which has become the new normal for you. But
Yeah,
you got to stay consistent and also use it as a practice daily. Even when you do get to a point of wellness, it's not like you get to a certain point in life and you just stop all the practice completely. It's like, no,
yeah,
this is in the routine of my life now to continue on.
yeah, 100%.
And I'm also curious, man, because I work with a lot of young kids, and also I've had a few people who listen to the podcast and they guest on the podcast as well, who did grow up in a single household or they grew up without a father figure. And especially as a young man, that's really difficult because you're going out into the world and really trying to define what a man is, but also define what you are. What was that like growing up, like trying to define who you are as a man in this world?
I think I think with me was trying to be masculine and aggressive from a young age. I think I thought that was the right thing to do. Um, but really that just stemmed from insecurities and being something I wasn't. But I think I was just trying to show up as something I wasn't based on the conditions and environment I was in. My perspective on life and things were just completely warped by just not having any proper guidance and following around the wrong people and environments.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. And that's, it's a good evidence to show like how that can make an impact to implement, looking for other environments of people where they're not doing the right things, but you're just looking for that validation to fit
yeah,
in. And I find when a lot of people do grow up in a single household, they usually do go into similar environments to that as well. It's really unfortunate. But
yeah.
if you had a bit of advice here for someone who may be listening, they may be young or they may be older, but they struggle with growing up without a father figure or that man in their life. Like, do you have any advice you could give them, or maybe any advice you'd give to your younger self in that position?
Mine would probably be to either something that you enjoy or you're into, maybe try and find like some good social circles within that. Um, Even if it's like, say, soccer, footy, gym, running, there's just so many like good opportunities with like groups these days where you can just be surrounded by like good people. And if you can't find that, I think just possibly just like consciously being aware of your own patterns and just trying to like work on them to be like a better person, possibly just even just reading, daily affirmations, creating a routine, I'm just thinking of things that I've done in my life that really helped recondition my patterns and toxic behaviors and negative thinking was based on like discipline and things that I had to do to retrain my brain for the positive aspects. So I found like things through training, environment, eating better food, sleeping well, getting off drugs and alcohol, ice baths, um, meditation, breath work, so many things. I don't expect everyone to do all those things, but I just found once I started doing some positive changes, they just start compounding. And you start wanting to just like, you'll do one thing, say you do breath work and you feel good, you'll be like, oh, what's the next thing I can do? And then I started reading, and then I started doing meditation, and then I started surrounding myself in better circles. And I think the best part is just being like having that conscious mind of knowing that you want to change and actually acting on it and doing something about it, and knowing that we're all human and we can learn and change the environment and perspectives that we have. We can retrain our brain and then attract positive, energies and frequencies in our life. And it took me a long time to realize like to switch out of that victimized mentality and just like love myself and then do the right things and attract the right things, the people and the right energies and frequencies.
100%. Like you said there, compounds, doesn't it? It's like the
Mm,
same energy. Like if you are into drugs and addiction, like it starts
mm.
with one thing and then you use that energy to pursue another drug and it keeps, has a bit of a ripple effect in a negative way. But you look
Yeah.
on the other side of it, you begin going to the gym. Then through going to the gym, you may meet a dude there who has an ice bath. You're like, oh, I'll get into ice baths. And that guy knows a bit about breath work. Like, oh, now I know a bit about breath work. And the next person recommends you a book. And it's like a ripple effect
Yeah.
of the same
Yeah.
energy, but going the other way.
100%, bro. Yeah. I found that actually happened as well. Yeah, I think because you have an open mind and perspective, and then you start talking about different things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm open to that. Oh, he's reading. This guy's a coach or a mentor, or he's doing well and he has a lot of positivity and this and that. And you're like, oh, I'll try that. I'll try this. But I think it's, yeah, shifting that perspective. You start seeing the better in all these things. You start actually seeing the things that you want, and then you start doing them and feeling better.
100%. And especially with shift in perspective too, a big part of that is finding a new environment. So for you, man, like how did you even seek a new environment or even know where to begin to look for one? Because it can be challenging at first.
Oh, yeah, this is probably jumping like years and years ahead. So I don't even know where to start because there's so much context before this, because this was only probably about maybe about seven to 6 years ago where I made a massive change in my life. So I don't know how far you want me to go back. It's probably going to be a long story, but
That's fine. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so okay, we're gonna take this back now. So when I was 14, I was telling you about my brother. I lost him to suicide, um, which was a massive spiral in my life, which was probably one of the hardest things I had to face because he was everything to me. He was like my father figure, my best friend, like just everything. In losing him, I felt so lost in life. Um, where I then started to spiral into like worse habits and things. Um, the environment I was in, I started drinking more, doing more drugs. I was more rebellious. Even at school, I stopped listening. I was stopped wagging. Like academically, everything went to shit. Um, and I really like just spiraled out. I started to hate on people. I hated my mum. Um, I turned on her for everything, and I just had such bad energy within my body. And it just compounded over my life over and over again with just new relationships, new friendships, just everything in my life because I never healed any of the past insecurities or traumas and the things that affected me on my life. I just kept moving forward and I never worked on anything. I never understood. I just went from one bad pattern to the next, one toxic trait to the next because I never knew how to actually rework my mind and have a positive mindset on anything. So all through the end of my schooling was, yeah, quite bad, heaps of drugs and stuff. Just barely even finished school properly. And then after that, I just kind of got into partying a lot. And from there, I was just doing drugs every weekend. I was going out clubbing. I was just bendering like four, 4 or 5 days a week. I was doing drugs every day. I was smoking ciggies. I was eating processed food. I was just like, just a walking, ticking time bomb before anything bad like could possibly happen. And then I got into bodybuilding at like a pretty young age too. And that was very toxic for me. And I think that stemmed from a lot of insecurity back to what we were saying earlier. I felt like a male had to be masculine and intimidating as well. So I think at such a young age, I started bodybuilding when I was around 19, 20. And I would take steroids and I took them for about 3 years there where I was taking them like aggressively. And then for that period of time, I was growing massively, but I felt like what the steroids had done to my brain was amplified everything that was going on within my brain, which was already toxic and bad. So just going through all that stuff I was still doing drugs every week. I was hanging around bad people. I then added steroids on top. I got huge, but mentally, I was just weak. I was depressed. I was sad. I was just an insecure human. But from the external, people would think, oh, he has it all. He looks amazing. He's this and that. But inside, yeah. And it took me till where I'm going with this to realize I was just a weak person. All these things I was doing in my life, I would get into fights on the weekend when we were out with my friends, and there was so much stuff that stems from insecurity, fighting, trying to act tough, trying to be the way I was, trying to look the way I was. It actually all came down to insecurity, and it only took me till later on in my life to really realize that, and that I just didn't love myself. I hadn't forgiven myself, and I was just, yeah, super in a super bad place. So fast forward that, it was around when I was about 20, 25, 26. Um, the story goes, I was at home one day and I always had like health issues, but I never really could get down to the point I would see GPs, I would get all this stuff done. They would always say I'm healthy. And I had this pain in the side of my stomach. And I'd always complain. So my housemate was like, oh fuck, you're just complaining again. Like you just got a sore stomach. And I was like, nah, man, there's something like really wrong. And I started dry reaching and I started like profusely sweating and I fell to my knees and it felt like on the right side of my stomach, it felt like my appendix or something was gonna explode. And I
Wow.
was like, fuck. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like call the ambulance and shit. And I literally passed out. And I woke up. I woke up in my bed and there was an ambulance around me. My mum was there and my housemate was there. And the ambulance people were like, oh, we just had like some grandma who was here, who broke her leg and she could still get into the wheelchair and stuff because they'd brought up a wheelchair. And they were like, "Oh, just get up, you'll be fine." Like, stop being like they were pretty much saying, "Stop being a pussy." And my housemate just picked me up because he knew I was in agony and threw me into the chair, took me into the ambulance, and then from there, I don't really remember much. And it was days later, I woke up and my family and like all my friends were around me in the hospital room, and I'd been in ICU for 3 days and I was on morphine, green whistle, everything. They just had me hooked up to everything. And then I looked down, and from the bottom of my chest all the way to the right side, my whole stomach was cut open. So I actually had a liver tumor. And what had happened is it grew so big that the tumor actually exploded in my stomach, and I was drowning in my blood.
Well,
So yeah, insane, bro. And so what happened is your stomach can only handle, I think, about like 6 to 7 liters of blood. And what they calculated was I had like 5.5 liters of blood in there. And they were so lucky. They said there's only a liver surgeon on twice a week. And the night I was there, he was on to be able to perform the surgery, which they needed to do straight away. They had to cut the liver in half and then get rid of the tumor that was part of it. And he said if he didn't do it that night, I would have been dead. So this was the long story that I had to tell you, but all this that happened was the big blessing in disguise. Um, I woke up with my friends and family around me to realize I lived something that I should have died from. And from that point, it was a crazy realization. Like I remember it in there and just looking around, and it was like all the little things that I used to care about. It's like all the cliche shit you hear when you read and you listen to other coaches and mentors and stuff. But at that point of like death, you forget all the little things that you cared about. You know, all the insecurities, all the problems, all the dramas. All you care about is the people that are around you, your family, and just being able to be healthy and live. And from that moment, that's when I literally was like, fuck, I need to really change my life. I've had another chance at life and that's where, yeah, I literally changed everything. So from that point, I broke up with my partner at the time because I just wasn't the person that I should be for her. And I just knew I had to change to be the right person for other people. And it just wasn't, it was still like there was toxic behavior within the relationship too. But I just knew like what had to be done. So I literally I got rid of all my friends at that time too. It was like a really hard, pivotal transitioning point in my life, but it had to happen because what I had built was an environment of just partying. People knew me to be the party animal. My whole personality was around bodybuilding, training, partying, drugs, being in the limelight, all this kind of stuff. And it just wasn't who I wanted to be. I always knew inside of me that I had potential for something else and that I wanted to be someone else, but I never knew the way. I never knew I just never had really read any books. Hadn't, been seeing any podcasts. I didn't know, I didn't consciously know that I could change as a person. So I think after having that like epiphany or life-changing kind of experience when I woke up and like seeing everyone around me, that was probably the first time I sat there and I was like, fuck, I've had another chance. Like I can literally change my life. I can do these things. And I don't know why it takes to that point. And hopefully, like sometimes like these kind of stories, I feel like hopefully can inspire other people to not get to that point and extent in their life to make things change. But yeah, that was one of the craziest moments of my life, but one of the most, I'm so grateful and thankful for that happening. But yeah, that's we can get into that next, but that's where I really sat down and just changed everything in my life, bro. So
Bro, that's
bro,
that's
that took
wild.
so long. It's
No,
sometimes
that's
hard to like articulate it all because it's like I'm I'm going through it when I'm explaining it. And a lot of it to me was really hard in my life to even remember and think of because I blocked it out so much. I I think because it was so traumatic in my life, I just blocked a lot of the stuff out. So sometimes even when I re-say it all, it's like I relive the journey and the feeling and the experience. But it's also like motivating to me too. It's mixed emotions because it also makes you reminds you of those times, but then reminds you of how far you've come.
yeah, definitely, brother. You painted that picture really well. So yeah, there's a lot of things I want to get into within that story. But to begin with, like I want to acknowledge your brother. Do you mind me asking what your brother's name was?
Andreas,
Andreas. So yeah, I just want to bring awareness to Andreas, brother, and also like at this point in your life, before I get into the other things, like with Andreas looking down you, how do you think he would be looking down you right now? What do you think he'd be thinking?
That gets me emotional, bro. Um, I just from that point in my life, like it made me realize that I wanted to like look after my mum and give her the life that she never had, give her the direction and change her mind and perspective. And I think going through that all with losing my brother and stuff and what happened to me, I feel like really gave me the opportunity to change her life and really care about her. And like a lot of my purpose is for him and for her. And I strive to try and be the best person I can be every day for everyone around me, for my friends, my family, the relationships, just any conversation, even anyone I meet. I always just want to bring value and be there as some sort of support. So I just hope, yeah, he would be proud and I'm doing everything I can to make him proud too.
Yeah, I reckon he is, brother. And
Thank you.
also, like with your own, thanks for sharing that, man. But
That's
with your own experience as well with the hospital and the near death experience, if you think that added that extra layer to it, like the purpose, want to look after your family, because I know recently, you got your mum a car, which was really awesome. And now,
You seen that? You
yeah, I
seen?
saw that, bro.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, of course. But like, do you think that added like an extra layer of purpose and mission going through that experience yourself too?
100%, bro. Like it's everything I do is just always in the back of my head, like consciously, subconsciously, it's just engraved into my brain. Like everything I do, I push so hard to just like even like from a financial aspect, I just want to, it's not that I want money and stuff. I want to be able to just have financial freedom for my mum because she came from nothing. She had so much hardship. So I want to be of some sort of support and know that she can rely on me because she never had that. I want to always be there for her financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, every way. So yeah, 100%, bro. She deserves it all, and everything I do is just it gives me so much more drive now, and I love it.
And I love that you shared that moment too, like seeing how happy that made your mum get in
Yeah.
the car.
It
Like it
was the
inspired me
best.
to want to do the same, bro,
Oh,
like
I love that, bro. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard because I love doing stuff for me, but I'm also very conscious of like it's probably a bad trait, and it's just being honest. But I'm conscious of how other people feel about some things sometimes. So I did think about it because I didn't want people to reflect on themselves. And I know it's like you have the people who are inspired and motivated, or the people that, and I always think I care about, both ends. But that's one thing I'm probably possibly working on because I just want to help and inspire people. I don't want people to feel any type of way. But I just know society's like that these days, but you can't please everyone. So you might as well please people doing what you love and the right things.
that's it, brother. And as long as your intentions are pure and good,
Yeah.
you know, either way, people are going to take it negative no matter what you do in life. But as long as you know to your heart, your intentions are pure, that's the main thing, bro.
100%, bro. 100%. I believe that.
I'm also curious as well around having a near death experience. Like, did that change your perspective on death or life? Like, how did that shift for you?
Definitely changed the perspective on life. From what I kind of covered before, I just became so like appreciative of just everything. Just my, it's the next step that I'll tell you about, but the relationships and everything I cultivated after it and the life that I have now and everything that's led up to there was because of that. So yeah, it really did shift my perspective. It was very hard in the first year and a half, even to 2 years. It was very hard to navigate and recreate my life and my mind, but it also shifted my perspective massively. It was very tough to like go through that journey, but I learned so much about myself and I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today. And it doesn't mean people have near-death experiences to for that to happen, but it's just sometimes not the worst things in the world are gonna make you a bad person or things are gonna end up bad. It's really like transitioned my life into the positive and I'm appreciative of everything that's happened. All the adversities have helped me massively, all the hardships, everything.
Yeah, 100%. And going through hardship and going through a dark time too, like you said, you don't want people to get to the point where they feel like they have to get experience that.
Yeah,
And all,
no,
yeah, but it's like even with yourself, and I'm sure people can relate. Like I know with me, I reflect back on my hardest times. I'm actually grateful I experienced them because it built the characteristics within me to be able to deal with future challenges, present challenges, anything that may come up. Like it can build resilience, determination, willpower, but also it also builds within you just a knowing that you can handle anything and that you are capable.
100%. 100%. No, I think it's something people don't need to run away from. And if it happens, I don't know, maybe hopefully these type of stories as well can help motivate and inspire other people to not even get to that extent in their life and just understand they can change things before that point.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. And shifting into the next stage of your life, bro, like when within that year or 2 years, when you started to recondition your mind, recondition your environment, like what did this next phase of your life start to look like?
Um, Sorry, bro. I'm just putting a light on here because I look like it was so dark.
Oh,
So
you're all
it's
good.
like the viewers are gonna think I'm like telling some deep, dark
In the
story
shadows.
in the shadow. Say that again.
So this next stage of your life, stepping into it, where you had to start reconditioning your mind and reconditioning your environment, what did this next phase of your life start to look like?
So this was crazy because I built before everything in the near-death experience and everything. I actually through that bodybuilding phase when I was 19, 20, 21, I actually started building a following then. So I actually built my who I was and my personality, everything about me was through like fitness and training. Not saying that what I was doing at the time was healthy, but I was sponsored by food companies, supplement stores. I was getting food for free, supplements, clothes. I was doing shoots and stuff, and I grew massively in that space. So back to your question, it was super hard because I got rid of all of that. Everyone knew me for that person through who my personality was on Instagram, who I was, how I looked externally, my physical, because all that kind of stuff, people are following you for the physical, as well as, your lifestyle and other things, you as a person. But a lot of it is to do with your physique. So it was quite hard because in hospital I lost 26 kilos in a week.
Oh,
So for someone who was so hard on themselves, I was about 110 kilos, um, lean, and I'm like I'm like average height, bro. So, and I was 20, 21. I was benching like 200 kilos, squatting 260, deadlifting 260, like repping 65 kilo dumbbell shoulders and shit. Like it was extreme, bro.
mm,
And everyone knew me for that, like my physique, my strength, who I was. So coming out of this and losing all that, I literally felt like I had to recreate who I was. And I felt so lost because I've lost my partner, I've lost my friends, I've lost all my weight, I've lost who I was through socials. So I just literally felt so lost. But I also felt it was such mixed emotions in my life because I I was alive and I was so grateful for that. But then I had lost so much too. So it was like this crossroad of like just not knowing what to do next, what my next steps were. And this is where like I slowly started to build because I was away from drugs and I said to myself I wanted to change. This is where I think a lot of my compounding routines started from being in I didn't leave bed for like 6 to 12 months because my abs were cut. Even sitting up and stuff, I needed someone to like lift me out of bed. Even going to the toilet, like anything was just literally I needed to be cared for all the time. But once I got to the point where I could kind of start doing some stuff for myself, I remember going to the gym. I ended up back at the gym. Um, and I was like 80 something kilos. And it was like, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I just like wanted to cry because I was so gaunt and skinny. I looked very sick, but I was also so thankful. So I was back again to that crossroad. But this is where like I found I really learned something now about like progressive overload because I started that like in the gym. So I started eating a bit better. I started building the routines I could with things in my life like I would wake up a little bit earlier. I would start eating a little bit better of food. I would go for a walk. I would then start going to the gym. And I remember just sitting on the machine and I was so grateful that I could even sit there. And I was literally doing less than what the old 70-year-old was probably pressing next to me. Was like, you know how you have like the plates? I was probably just on the first one, just doing the movement. And I'm like, oh, I'm so fucking grateful I can do this. And it was from there, like I started building these little habits. I started getting stronger. I started feeling better, started looking better. Nothing because I was off everything. So it was never like that again in how I looked, but I was just grateful. So those little things and the little routines and stuff started to just compound. And yeah, those are things I would think now have probably stemmed from that time of my life, which is now something I truly believe in is like progressive overload and momentum compounds. So it's like all the little things, all the little one percenters, all the things you do every single day at that end of that year, like fuck, they all add up. And it took me time, but fuck, I am like I look back at myself and I'm like a complete different person because of all this, bro. All these little routines and habits and behaviors and things that I did every single day that didn't seem major all compounded to such a big result at the end of the year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And it's not quick, but it's if you just start now and you just start adding little things, it's like we said before, you start compounding even just one good thing to two good things, three, four, five, and they just all add up. And even if they're just 1% each, by the end of the year, it's 365% on each thing. And you're just like that much better. You're more educated, you're more articulated, you're because you've learned more you're just in a better space because you're more positive about like the good shit you're doing to yourself. So your energy and frequency is just like a more of a positive human being. And I find that being more positive and having that, like actually not just saying it, but actually being in a good vibrancy, like energy field and frequency, I find I do attract those things in my life. I never understood it. And I always thought, fuck, that's absolute bullshit until I started learning quantum mechanics and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I started to realize like you actually are just like energy and you attract what you put out. And I didn't realize that at the time, but as I got more educated, I started to realize that. So whenever I feel off and stuff, and I feel like my energy and frequency's out, I can kind of actually see what happens around me. And I have little practices now that I can do to kind of center me and bring me back. But it's crazy how like when you start being so consciously aware, you can like see and feel and think these things and you know what to do. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's a
because
too
yeah,
deep, bro, but
that's good, but it makes sense because you become like super sensitive to everything, don't you? I relate that with that a lot. You know, you become super sensitive and you become like just super aware of how you feel. And then sometimes it's like, all right, maybe I shouldn't think too deep about this. Maybe it's just a moment that will pass, or maybe I actually need to do something dramatic about changing this certain thing that's happening in my life. But it's good being in that space because at least then you're aware, you know?
so that was a very long answer, bro.
Yeah.
Because
I
you asked
appreciate
me,
it.
yeah. I feel like mine are so deep, but it's because there's so many like chapters to the answer that you ask. Because
Mm,
it's not just like one thing. It's like there's such big transitions and years and months that have been put into every transition in my life. It never really happened overnight. Like, yeah, the near death experience did, but things take time as well. People, excuse me, need to be patient
yeah.
as well. But I guess we all just want it now. But I think just people need to understand just once you start making changes, like better things start showing up, better opportunities start showing up, and you just become a better person. I just don't even, I couldn't ever see myself going back to that person. And
Mm,
when I think about it too, I'm just like, I've literally feel like a complete different person. I'm so grateful and thankful because I knew how lost I was. And it's just like makes me like I get such a good feeling inside because it makes me know that like people can change
mm,
and everyone can change. Like you're not who you think you are because of who you've been around or your circumstances and stuff. Like I've literally had the worst. It came from like, fuck. I literally should have been dead or in jail, bro. Like, and yeah, it's just been a crazy but amazing journey.
Yeah. I'm glad you're actually, out there sharing your story too, because that's super important, man. Because like age of 13, 14, get into drug addiction and then going through the challenges of growing up in a single household and then the challenges that arise with your brother and everything following that, and then going to hospital and having a near death experience. And like all these compounded effects didn't deter you to give up on life, to give up on yourself, to give up on hope. But instead, you used all this in a sense to motivate you to get better and find ways to improve yourself, improve your environment, And I think that's the biggest thing, it's hope. It's the hope that things will get better.
Hope, bro. I love that. It is the hope. And I think because like I came from a place with no hope and nothing around me to give me hope, that like you even saying that just then, I love that you said that. Because when I speak to kids and stuff, or just not even kids, just people that are just feel so lost in their life, I love having a conversation with them and just giving them some sort of hope because it just, you can see their energy and their frequency and everything just change. They come out of that conversation, they're like, actually, I think I can like change. I have hope. I have faith in this. Like, I want to do something different. I want to try this. And I think, yeah, having hope is just like an amazing thing, bro. And if you can like somehow inspire someone to like have that or have a conversation with someone to have that, it's just like, I reckon that's another massive fulfilling feeling for me is when you can like really get someone into that mindset.
Mm. Definitely, bro, because version of hope, as well as what you talked about, if someone wants to find hope within themselves, it's the compound effect of things.
Yeah,
So instead of setting a big goal and expecting to have it now and then not getting it now and then potentially giving up or being deterred to a different path, instead you set little goals that will compound to bigger goals. So an example is you go to the gym, you can lift 2.5 kilos heavier in 2 weeks' time.
yep,
Like there's actual evidence there that you can progress, which then in return gives you hope.
100%, bro. All the little things, they really do add up.
Yeah. And it's even like, even when you say to people like 1% every single day, it doesn't sound like much, but let's just say 1% on the 1st of January to the end of the year. By the end of the year, that's 365% improvement if it's 1% every day. That's a massive jump, like
It is.
365%. But if you break it down to little steps like that, it makes it a lot more manageable, a lot more actionable, and a lot more doable too.
100%, bro. I actually had that on my in my TikTok bio because I do a lot of stuff with like ice baths and cold plunge and stuff like that. And my bio was be 1% better every day. So
I love that.
uh,
So, when did the entrepreneurship journey begin? Because getting into this stage of life now where you're starting to get new habits, get around new people, when did you start, I guess, getting into business, looking to getting into business, or even when the sparks began?
I've actually had this chat with someone the other day, and it was like it started from a young age, but I don't actually know where it came from.
Mm,
Um, I don't know where that came in my body to be like that. And I'm trying to think back to it. And I just don't even know in my environment or anything. The only thing I can think of is coming from adversity and financial hardship. And knowing, I think at that time, I wasn't consciously aware of it, but I knew I never wanted to struggle because of like what my mum had been through, the lifestyle we had to live. I seen everyone who was just like getting all these things, and I just couldn't have those things. But I think this was a another progressive overload thing. But in school, I used to I used to see my family. So I was kind of privileged in that area. I had some family overseas, and they would pay for us to go over there. And we were going to, where was it? It was in Kuala Lumpur. And I would go see them, and I would come back home and I would buy shoes from over there. And when I come back home, I would sell them from my locker. And then it started to like compound, and then I would buy like another pair of shoes and I'd resell them. And I was always like buying and reselling things from like such a young age. I was like on forums online, and this was back in like what gen was that? But this was before like anything now. Like there's so many reputable like shoe dealers and people that are doing this stuff. But I was literally on like it was even before like kind of eBay was big. You would find these like I was big into like skateboarding and stuff for 10 years. Like that was my life for a bit as well when I was younger, just never coming home and skating, smoking, drinking. But I would have go on these skateboard websites and I would be selling shoes and clothes on there. And then I would get more, then resell, get more, resell. And I think it stemmed from there, bro. Like, I really think it was like the adversity of like money and like never having like financial freedom and just having the hardship around that. But it started from super young, super young. And I think that just kept happening in my life. I was like, I always had an open mind for like things and just always strategizing in my brain, like, how can I do this? How could I start this business? I always am like, had that mind. I think some people are just born like that, where they see a problem or see a thing and they're like, I could do something with this, or I could build a business from this, or I could help somebody, or I could, make money off this. So I think, yeah, from a young age, I kind of just had that in my brain.
Definitely sounds like that's where the seed was planted for you. Yeah.
You just made me realize that too.
Yeah. But like, what was the first thing for you? Was it getting into Sixth Avenue, or was there a different endeavor you pursued first and Sixth Avenue was an evolution of something else? What was the beginning for you?
Um, the beginning was so I was working in sup stores around the time I was like bodybuilding and all that kind of stuff. And I actually had a part ownership in a supplement company. And that kind of just went that kind of went down a bad route because the money with the owner was doing kind of like some dodgy shit on the side, was kind of using me at that point in my life. So I had a kind of a bad experience with that, but that was kind of my first kind of jump to like a business, wanting to do something in like with supplements. And it's crazy if anyone knows me now, I'm still so deep into supplements. I love supplementation for now it's more nootropically. So like through like neuro, like through your brain and stuff like that. I care about like stuff, so much stuff with like focus, dopamine, cognitive behavior, um, serotonin, all that kind of stuff. And I just love a lot of stuff like the science behind supplementation. So many people know I'm like deep into that. But yeah, I had like a partner back then, and yeah, things went bad. And then after that, I actually had a couple of these situations happen a couple times. I had a really good business idea. I went from there to managing another supplement store, and I actually like increased the business massively there. And I had that entrepreneurial mindset in there, and I was like, we could do this. I was like, we could create at that time. It was like I used to think of like Rebel Sports, and this is when gym apparel was becoming massive. And I was like, oh, we could like create a Rebel Sports, but for like gym clothes on through social media and online and have it all in one place. And I actually told my boss at the time, who was we lived together too, so we were very close. And then he actually started that and became a multi-million dollar business.
Yeah,
And he
wow.
fired me too.
Oh no.
So
Oh, that's rough.
yeah, rough, bro.
Oh,
So yeah, I
yeah.
had a lot of like rough experiences, but to be honest, I think a lot of it was due to where I was when I talked to you about like what you attract and stuff too.
Mm.
I think I was just I don't act like a victimized mentality, and I don't hold grudges against those people. I think I was just at a bad place in my life. Those kind of things were showing up because of who I was, and to be honest, I just wouldn't have been in a good place anyway for those businesses. That shit had to happen, bro. So to make me
Exactly.
like learn a lot. So yeah, I look back at that and I see it as a positive thing. But there's also other steps in my life where that kind of shit happened again, bro.
Yeah.
But I can talk about that after if you want.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine as well. But like, especially those challenges early on, it's hard to see it in the moment. You know, I'm not sure where your mindset was at the time, but it may have been of more of a F this person, I can't believe this. But
Yeah,
in
of course.
hindsight looking back, you're probably like, well, that's probably a good thing because it probably wouldn't have served me of where my own missions right now are serving me that I've implemented.
100%, bro. Like that whole victimized mentality was me. And I see it so much now in society, but yeah, it's just crazy, bro. It all stems down to the person themselves, what they've been around, their environment. But people need to literally realize like you are human. You can like change anything. If something bad shows up, like you can change that. There's so much to learn from like just everything. And yeah, there's just so many victim mentalities, bro. And I'm like, fuck, it's just such a bad trait to have. You just can't be like that.
No, the victim mentality doesn't serve you. Like it doesn't bring any net positives into your life.
No, 100%.
Mm.
100%.
And do you think that was an inspiration for you to start Sixth Avenue, or did you always want to start your own clothing range?
So why is everything I say so deep? I'm like, it has to be this novel.
Philosophical.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to literally just stop talking. Get me off this podcast. Um, so that let's go back again. So back to like the fitness journey and all that kind of stuff. When I was building my following and all that, I was always into fashion and just my lifestyle. I would post up like being this is before like on Instagram where people would get free stuff and post it up. I kind of felt like I was like there wasn't many people even modeling or doing any of that kind of stuff. There was like specific people doing it, but there wasn't many agencies. There wasn't as many fitness models or that were young or that had a following. So I started getting given a lot of clothes. I cared about clothes. I always have been into fashion since such a young age. I think that's something maybe my mum, just how she used to care about all the details of like what I wore and how I looked. And I think I always cared about those things too. My dad had a creative mind and stuff too. So I think maybe that's where it stemmed from. Um, but I was posting that kind of stuff, just my lifestyle on social media. Companies started hitting me up, and I just always like cared. It was an expression of who I was as a person, and I just always cared about the details and everything to do with fashion. So yeah, I think just over time, I started building this like fast forwards even more. But I was getting hit up by companies all the time, and it just got to a point where I was like, I want to do my own thing and I want to like show people. I want to like show them what I envision, what I'm capable of, what I love. And I want to do it instead of doing this for everyone else. I want to do this for myself. And an opportunity arose and it was just kind of the timing. And then, yeah, it just kind of happened. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not just saying this because we're having a conversation and you're on the podcast, but like when you look at Sixth Avenue clothing, you can definitely tell it's unique to you. Like it doesn't look like all the other clothing brands that are out there that are quite similar, or some of them are quite similar. Like it really has a uniqueness to it.
yeah, yeah, no, it's so. Haven't really like said this part on online before and that, but I actually had a partner in the beginning of Six, and it was a little bit more commercialized, which never sat well with me. It was in shopping centers and all that, which I was grateful for. I'm not going to talk anything badly of it and my partnership at that time, but um, I cared about back to the things I was saying before was the details, the community, the how things were how they looked to say the content that was being distributed, the campaigns that were set up, the videographers, the photographers, the models that were involved, all the little things that like orchestrated the end result was just like something I was so particular on. And the partner I had at the time was like, stop caring about these details. Get them into the shops, sell this fast fashion, like whatever. It doesn't matter. Like you'll just make money. Who cares about the details? Why do you care so much about the GSM, which is like the thickness of the shirt, what the cotton is, if it's brushed or combed? What do you care about these patterns, the fit, the little centimeters, this, how it's taken? Just take photos on your phone. And I'm like, man, what are you talking about? And I think it was just over time, the dynamic of our relationship was just so off because we just didn't have the same values and morals for the brand. And there was just so much conflict between us because of that, because the conversations were like, I was motivated about something, I would come to him and he'd be like, nah. Motivated about something, come to him, nah. And I'm like, I just kept feeling crushed again. And I'm like, how am I going to grow this and actually love what I'm doing? Um, so I took a massive hit and so the brand was going in a way of like, I'm trying to think of brands and stuff, but it was kind of that like Culture Kingsy type style at the beginning when like Culture Kings back in the day, kind of that hip hop styled fashion, I would say, like Chrome Hearts, Palm Angels type style. And it was fun, but it wasn't the vision that I wanted. And it just came to a point where I just like said to the business partner, our relationship is just not ideal. Like this dynamic we have is not working. And I took out the business and I took it on my own. And I literally, the business went from like up to literally, it's like my life back when I was younger, went down, but I knew I had to just build it from where I wanted. So what I had to do was recreate the whole audience, the image, and everything that I wanted and start from the bottom. But I believed in myself and I knew what I was capable of. But also, if you're at that point and something's not fulfilling and you're making all this money and you're doing all that, like it's just not fulfilling. It just didn't sit well with me. It didn't mean anything to me. I was like, I didn't care. So even starting from the bottom and doing more of like what I loved and transitioned into that was just more fulfilling to me. It wasn't about the money and all that kind of external stuff. It was more just like enjoying the process and starting from where I wanted and just slowly scaling that with like the new audience and the new vision and all that. But it took time because I had to go find new factories and a supply chain and everything had to change. So I was kind of recreating like my vision with the environment around me too, which was quite difficult as well. But yeah, that was hard because I lost money within that, a lot of money. And it was like starting from scratch again. But that's another one of those hardship stories where it was epic. It had to happen, and I'm grateful.
Mm. That's an important lesson there, man, because if you're not pursuing what you love or you're not having that aligned, with
Yeah.
your values and what you love, it's just going to lead to dead ends and places where you don't even want to be to end with. Because, like, I guarantee if you get the money, you get quote unquote the success that you think it is, you'll get there and you'll probably trade the happiness for it anyway, and the fulfillment and all of the good feelings that come with sticking to your values and what you truly believe in.
It's nothing for FIFO workers, but that's why half of them hate their lives
Yeah.
because they've got the money, but they're not even fulfilled with the job that they're doing because they just literally work, work, work. There's nothing else to their life. Like you need to have sort of some sort of substance and something you're driven towards and motivated. But there's some who love it, and that's awesome, and they move up in it and they spend it like that's fine. But there's just like the majority and the percentage in that is so high because it's just money doesn't mean everything. Like it's so much more than that.
Yeah, 100%. And even with yourself, bro, like having want to be able to have freedom financially, then also not wanting to, I guess, sell yourself out or sell your soul out or to sell out in that sense. Like, how did you balance that? Did it just come back to knowing I can build this the right way and then the rewards will come by doing it that way? Was that the belief?
Yeah, 100%. I just got to a point I wanted to just do stuff for myself, more fulfilling, and just like the everything that's happened, the progressive overload, it just takes time, and you just got to keep doing it. And I think because I didn't care about the numbers, it was just more like consistently doing the stuff that I loved, and I think that just like paid off slowly. It doesn't. It was still hard within like the first. It's only in the past year and a half where we've scaled up tremendously. But in that like first initial stage, it was very hard to navigate. But goes back to what I said about being like motivated and fulfilled about those things. I think you see past all that shit because you're just enjoying the process.
Mm. That's it. And the journey's always better than the destination. Like I
100%.
always find the journey is because that's where you learn the most about yourself, what you're capable of. But then that's also where you meet the people along the journey as well, or the good people. Because,
Yeah.
if you could tell me right now, I'm sure you may be similar, click your fingers and get to the destination. I'd say no. Because I want to experience everything that gets me there.
Yeah. 100%. Wouldn't be who we are.
Yeah,
100%
definitely.
adversity in that. So believe that.
And with community, bro, you touched on community with Sixth Ave. Why is that so important, especially for a brand?
Because you want to like relate to other people as well. I feel like building a community, you just start having conversations with like-minded people, same culture, same music, same style. And a lot of the time that cultivating community like that is just like another fulfilling feeling because you are it's like a lot of the time the people that are into those specific things are very aligned. And it's just amazing building something where you can have a place for people to be part of. And I think that's why like I love community too. I think it stems even deeper than like even explaining it now. It stems from like a lack of having a place, I think, when I was younger too, and a lack of like feeling wanted and always trying to be accepted and all that, that I just like really love to cultivate a community for people to feel like they're part of something and then for me to be part with them too. So it's another one of those situations where like you can use those past times to a positive because yeah, I think like community is everything, not only for business and financially. Um, it's just a fulfilling feeling having like cool people all surrounded with you, like you would have with your podcast and stuff. But a lot now, I think businesses are seeing and monetizing it for their business. And I can understand that, but that's why like there's like run clubs. That's why like CrossFit groups. That's why like every single brand now has communities and it's so much deeper than that. I think they've realized that. But in saying that, it's not a bad thing because hopefully that's just a shift in a positive way. And that hopefully people then just like start being better people because of it. It's not like it's a bad thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if the purpose of the group and the intention is to do healthy habits, like a
Mm,
run club or
yeah.
an ice bath club or whatever it is, like as long as yeah, as long
But
as it's
that's a good
positive.
one. Maybe we
Yeah.
should start
There we
that.
go, done, sorted. I actually don't think there is any ice bath clubs, so
Yeah, half the people I talk to are like, "Why would you do that to yourself?" And I'm like, "You'll understand once you do it."
oh, well, it's one of the best investments I've done because I got an ice bath at my house. And
Oh,
literally getting to here, bro, was one of the best things I did. I can get in whenever I want. You feel the impact instantly, but also over time, like how it regulates your nervous system, how you're a lot more calm under stress, how you're able to deal with pressures and stuff. And like, there's so much that comes from just jumping in the ice for 3 minutes.
and 100%, Brian. It's another story again, but I had an ice bath business.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I sold portable ones, and it's because I built a TikTok, bro, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna post every day of me going in an ice bath.
Mm.
And it just started growing. And then I started seeing people like I had viral videos, bro. Like three of my top videos are like over 12 million views. And I started to see so many people impacted by like, oh, I should try this. I should do this. I should. And I was like, you know what? Entrepreneur mindset, but also the feeling of like helping others. I was like, I'm going to start a portable ice bath business. And I'd just been to China to Guangzhou to the Canton Fair. So it's the biggest import export expo in the world. And I had like a contact over there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this, and because it's fulfilling, and it's just like an amazing thing that you can give to people. So I did that. But to be honest, I this is where I started to realize you can't wear like so many hats and do so many things at once. I was like running this business, that business, doing all this, and my time was just like I was just drained, bro. But I exited that and I exited in profits, which was good. But that was the end of that. And that was before, like, there's so many portable ice bath businesses and there's so much advancement with it, with like the filtration systems and motors and all that kind of shit, which is so sick to see. But back when I did it, yeah, it was cool, bro. But yeah, ice baths, game changer, bro. Like, literally where I live, I do them, like, I have a recovery center here and it's just like epic, bro. I just love it. I love the mental discipline, the mental resilience. I don't even like it every single day. I'm like, fuck this shit. Why do I do this? And then I hop out and I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, I feel so clear. I feel so just like ready for the world, ready for tasks, for people, for conversations. I nearly even did one before this, but um, I love them, bro. And I feel like everyone would love them. You just have to get past that like initial point But sometimes the more pain, more gain. So it's like
Yeah,
get
100.
in there and then your whole body's just like fucked from it. And then you hop out and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, then you get that rush from it straight after, and your
Get your
body's like
adrenaline,
stiff. Yeah.
parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, everything's just going like crazy, and then you just like head's clear, all the blood flow through it. You just feel amazing, bro.
Like, isn't it crazy the difference of the person you are before an ice bath compared to the person after it? Because before an ice bath, like victim mindset, I don't want to do this. After it, I'm like, I'm unstoppable.
Yeah. How crazy is that? No, I'm like, I always have such like epic ideas, and I'm like, I want to do this. It reminds me of like if I have like an energy drink or something like that, and you kind of just get all these flooded ideas, and you're like, I want to do this. I'm going to smash this task. I'm going to finish this project. I want to start doing these things. I get out of the ice bath and I'm like, fuck, it's amazing. I love it. But yeah, before it, you're kind of like, oh, I'm like pulling myself to get in this. Fuck, do I have to do it today? It's too cold outside, especially in winter. You're like, why am I even doing this to myself?
Yeah, bro. It's like it's cold enough already.
Yeah, right. But it's even better, I guess, when it's even worse. The harder it
Yeah.
is, the better you feel.
Yeah, it is. Because like you teach yourself discipline,
Yeah,
like to do things regardless on your emotion, to
yeah,
still show up for yourself because you know what the outcome is, you know what the results are, and not letting your emotions dictate your life.
100%, bro. 100%. It's another mental discipline thing. I think it's another thing that, yeah, having it in the routine and knowing that I don't want to do it, but I know that it's good for me. Yeah, it's just building that mental resilience, that strength, that discipline, knowing I'm in control of myself and the environment isn't in control of me.
Facts. Because like what other wellness things you do? Because you said you do that, vitamins, nootropics, also gym. Like, do you have other practices that you do or
People would think I'm crazy with my supplementation and food, but I have a health coach called Martin Fenn, and he's like the head of health of research, the Health of Institute, and he's like proper next level, and I'm so grateful for him. He is literally like just how I am as a person. I feel like we align so much because he just never gets annoyed by it. I'm just constantly always asking him so much, and he just gives such in-depth detail into things, and this helped me on my journey. So I do a lot of blood work. So a lot of people, you just go to your GP. The reason I got so in depth with this is because of my near death experience. And I was going to GPs and they're like, "You're sweet. What are you complaining about? This, that. Stop getting all these scans. Stop doing all this." And I'm like, "No, I don't feel well. Like something's wrong." So I think after that it stemmed from there, but I'm very like consciously aware of like my health now. So I get comprehensive blood work done, and I get that through like iScreen. It's like a website I can send you after if you're ever wanting to like do anything like that. But
yeah,
what
that'd
it
be
does,
great.
it shows like markers, and it's full like hundreds of tests, and it shows you like specific measurements of where you should be, and it's like a graph that you're able to see where you're at. And then if you speak to someone who's highly educated in this area, if you go to a GP, they only like list 10 things, and the bracket that they're telling you that's optimal is not optimal. They only know so much because they haven't gone back and fixed this based on how people live these days. Things have changed, foods change, environments changed. A lot of the time, they didn't even know what all these external things were doing to people. And yeah, having this full comprehensive blood test and then having someone that actually knows ranges and where to be optimal, you can then start eating a specific way. You can start supplementing and taking vitamins and doing all these things like ice bath, sauna, training, and you can literally change. You go get these blood tests done in a couple months and see everything that you've done. It's like data, bro. You take it in and you understand, and you're like, okay, this is my plan now. I'm going to be disciplined and fucking smash all these supplements, train like this, eat like this, do cold plunge, recovery, and then I'm going to check my markers again and see how this supplementation and all these protocols I've done changed. And we've been doing that for quite some time now. And it sounds very like overwhelming probably to other people who are thinking and sitting there going, fuck, I don't do any of that. And they're reflecting on themselves. But it's very like open, and I'm happy to like share that with anyone. But there's so much more you can do for like your health, your blood, your heart, your liver, your kidney, your brain to be and feel so much better. So I've been, yeah. fairly lucky to have Martin in my life, but then also be consciously aware and educated and all this kind of stuff. I've kind of just learned over time about, foods I eat, organic, unprocessed food. I'm high into supplementation. Don't get me wrong, there's times like when I travel and that, you just make do and you do what you can and you try things here and there, but I'm very like consciously aware and I love being disciplined and routine. And I love seeing the results I get from kind of those protocols and structure that I have. But that's another in-depth story that I've given you. But back to everything, I do all that kind of stuff with blood work. Um, I do circuit training. I've cut that down a bit because I was just doing too much of it, but I've cut that down to 3 days a week. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll do like ski erg, rower, and the assault bike, and I'll do little rounds. And at the moment, I'm trying to like just get a little bit fitter. I'm trying to get better at running. I don't understand these guys that are doing fucking half marathons and all that shit, bro. Like I'm like beating my head against the wall, thinking, "Fuck, how I so hectic, bro. Like
Too deadly.
I can't do this shit. Like, no, I can do this shit, but again, it's a lot harder for me, bro. I don't know what it is, but I'm working on it. So, um, hats out to the guys doing that shit. That shit's crazy, bro. But I try to do a little bit of that. I train 5 to 6 days a week of strength training, and it's way different to how it used to be when I was like bodybuilding and stuff like that. The way I eat is way different, how I supplement and do everything. But now it's more just I want to feel better. My whole thing about life is just like longevity, feeling my best and feeling optimized and optimal. So I go in and I do progressive overload with like weights. I like to get like a good pump and good blood flow. I have like a strategic plan in place. Um, and I do that, bro. So that's part of the routine. I meditate in the mornings. I do breath work. I do a cold plunge every day. And then I sauna twice a week. So that's my, and get sun and shit and get outdoors. And I've got a new thing I've implemented, bro, where because I'm always entrepreneur mindset and always, I feel like I'm chasing my tail. I'm always on the go, go, go. I've now had a day or a couple hours or half a day where I'm just off my phone. I'm out in nature and I kind of just ground, bro. Like I get out of my head and I just enjoy the presence of being outdoors. I read and I just feel good, bro. So it's been amazing. Like I think I'm like, oh fuck, I don't have enough time. I need to keep doing these tasks. But I did it last year, bro. I did all work and I didn't focus on myself and I got so burnt out. And it's like a balance, bro. There's like circles, and you have like family, relationships, financial, business, this and that. If you go too far on one side, bro, you neglect the others. And I did
Yeah.
that. I went all there and I forgot about my health and my friends and my family, and I felt so shit. And I was just feeling crap again. And I knew all the good things I needed to do, but I didn't do them because I was too focused on business. So now I've been trying to flip it around and have a balance in things and social aspect and put some time for recovery and business. And then I have a day where I kind of shut off and I just go outdoors in nature and I just appreciate where I am. And I love that shit, bro. It might not be for some people, but I like hiking. I like outdoors and it makes me feel amazing, bro.
Mm. That's awesome, bro. Because I find that when you do invest into yourself, it pays dividends in your businesses too, because you're able to show up more consistently, like at a
Absolutely.
higher level.
Yeah, I was about to say that 100%. You're with balance, you're a better human being in every aspect for relationships, friendships, business, mental. No, don't get me wrong. Like all these things I say sounds like everything's nailed and I'm just like killing it. But I still have struggles and I still like go too far on one side and I'm like too deep into my work and then I neglect those things. But I know now and I'm consciously aware of it. I'm like, okay, I need to just chill a bit and I need to just like, shut down off that side a bit, work on these things and read and meditate and go outdoors and have some social connection and have some different conversations and stuff. And yeah, and then everything from that, bro, is just like a synergistical effect of like, getting the result you want. Everything's better when you kind of have balance in all areas.
Mm. A lot of that would stem from the blood work that you do. That's awesome. Like I definitely want to go and get mine done because about 2 years ago, I remember I was struggling with brain fog, memory, and concentration. And I was
Mm,
unsure why. So I went to the doctors after dealing with it for about a month. And
mm.
he ended up saying to me, he goes, "Oh, you have anxiety," and wanted to give me anxiety medication. I was like,
It's
bro,
always
I know.
funny.
I was like, brother, because I work in mental health and such, and I was like, I know
Yeah.
what anxiety is. I don't feel like I've got symptoms of anxiety. So I asked for blood work, and he just like the general blood work that you do. And it turns out I was deficient in B12. So I
Oh,
started
really?
supplementing B12 into my life, and the
Yeah.
brain fog went away, the memory improved, and also I just felt like a lot more functional cognitively. And
Oh,
then,
that's
yeah.
epic. That's good. That was just B12, not 40 things I have to do. No, I'm kidding.
I
But
bet.
that's awesome. I
Yeah.
always hear those stories of like where it's like something they're just a little bit deficient in and they do it and they know drastic changes. That's mad.
Yeah, but then also like even right now, because my baseline now is normal, but until
Yeah.
I get blood work done, then it may seem like, oh, I'm actually a bit low in testosterone. And then I
Yeah.
start doing things to improve that. And I'm like, what? Now I actually feel unreal. Like I didn't realize before I did feel shitty because that was normal.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think a lot of males should even get their hormones. It's just like females too, get their hormones checked because you can do little things to optimize it. Like naturally, even if you go down the route of like TRT and you get a script and you go through a doctor, if you're at that point in your life and you're being looked over by someone who's educated, like that stuff's fine. I do highly recommend that kind of stuff for people that actually need it. But there's a lot of steps you could do beforehand to improve those kind of results. But a lot of people, I think, don't realize how good you can actually feel and how much more you can optimize your body. But I think a lot of people are starting to see it now with society and social media. A lot of the runners and a lot of like trainers and stuff like that, they're doing a lot of these little, it's like the 1% things that like all compound to bigger things. So yeah, I think you would probably be surprised. You probably feel good now, but how much better you could feel if you just like, yeah, got that blood work done. You could see some of the things you could improve and little
Yeah.
lifestyle changes that really like change things. Even just changing from processed shit to like unprocessed food is one of the biggest steps I think that everyone should change.
Mm. I mean, live in such a good time right now too, because resources are so accessible, to learn about more things like this. Like an example would be, you know who David Sinclair is, the Australian scientist?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so he talks about longevity and medicine and also all the research that he does. That's like one example of a resource you could go to find out more information. That's why I'm really grateful to be alive in this time we are now. 'Cause we just
Yeah,
have like phones in our pocket where we have a university in a
yeah.
couple of types away and just find out anything.
Chat GPT into it, asking him, why do I feel this way? Oh, you do this.
But just before finishing up here, brother, I usually finish on this one question that I ask everyone.
Yeah.
But what is your definition of success?
My definition of success is to be just happy within the person you are, be happy within your skin, be cultivating like the community around you. To success to me isn't just purely financial, but I feel like success is to just be happy and have amazing friends with you, have just a conscious aware mind of like working on yourself and doing better things. I think that's like success to me. Um, yeah, bro.
I love that, brother. I just want to say thanks for coming on today. Thanks for sharing your time. I appreciate it, bro. It's an absolute honor to be able to even just connect and talk and record this episode, bro. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, man. And I know I just rambled on and, and went in depth, philosophical on every single aspect. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time and listening to my massive journey. And I love what you're doing, bro. It's such a positive impact on the world and continue to see you grow and through Spotify and your channels and all that. It's awesome, bro. You're a good human being and I appreciate giving me the time of day to come on.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. And we'll have to do a part two in person in the future next time you're back in those.
Maybe we'll do it in the ice bath too.
Yeah, how about that? Let's do that.
Start a new one. It's chats in the ice bath.
Yeah, just 3 minute rounds of chatting and conversating.
Fuck, you would come up with some crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm keen, bro. Let's keep connected.
Awesome, bro. Cheers.
All the best. See ya.